Barbed wire doesn't inflict any damage directly, but it's a way for a defender to slow and channel enemy forces. It also looks great on the table, so in this episode I want to look at how to make and use barbed wire entanglements in Flames of War. Only some lists have barbed wire available. If we look at Forces of War, there are plenty of German units that can use it. However, if we look at British units, there is only a single late war list shown here with barbed wire. Not a lot of options for my British forces. Sections of barbed wire entanglements are a fixed size in Flames of War, 2 inches or 5 centimeters by 8 inches or 20 centimeters. Battlefront have a tutorial about making barbed wire entanglements on their website. I use similar techniques to make mine. First I cut 2-inch by 8-inch bases from 3mm MDF sheeting. I do this with a saw, but one day I'm going to investigate using a laser cutter. Then you just trim and sand the edges of the base. I add texture using DAS modelling clay mixed with water until it's a thick paste I can apply with a pop stick. You can sprinkle sand or cat litter onto the wet DAS mixture to give it more texture. I made wire support posts with lengths of bamboo skewers and painted them brown. Use these upright or as crosses to support the coils of wire. As they show in the Battlefront tutorial, you can also use Czech hedgehogs as wire supports. These are easily made with small lengths of angled styrene. You can buy pre-made barbed wire in 15mm scale, but I found making the wire myself was pretty easy. Fuse wire will do, but I found it was cheaper to buy some braided picture hanging wire, cut it to 1 meter lengths and unravel the individual wire threads. Then just use a stick at one end to twist 2 strands of the wire together. Once you're happy, roll the wire around a pencil to make the coils of barbed wire. As well as coils, barbed wire includes things like foot traps, so I also ran some wire across the base in a crisscross pattern. This also helps hold the coils in place. There are lots of different patterns to choose from, so go with what looks good for you. So now we've made some barbed wire entanglements, let's look at using them in the game. Barbed wire doesn't necessarily stop infantry or man-packed gun teams. Each of these team types need to pass a skill test to successfully cross barbed wire obstacles. Any teams which fail their skill test are stopped at the edge of the obstacle, while successful teams continue to move unaffected. Pioneer teams may re-roll a failed skill test to cross barbed wire. Because it doesn't always prevent movement, barbed wire on its own isn't much of a barrier. You need to use it in front of dug-in infantry or MG nests, or have it covered with fire in some other way for it to be effective. This means any infantry or man-packed gun team stopped by the wire can be engaged and potentially destroyed in your turn. Barbed wire entanglements also affect vehicle movement. Barbed wire counts as slow going for tracked vehicles and very difficult going for half-tracks. Again, this movement penalty slows the progress of vehicles towards your units, and if you have the wire covered by anti-tank weapons, you get more time to engage them and more chances to bail out or destroy vehicles as they're forced to stay in the kill zone of your weapons longer. Tracked vehicles will not bog down in slow going, but half-tracks have to pass a skill test to traverse very difficult going without bogging down. Just a few failed rolls here for the attackers can break up an attack. Barbed wire is impenetrable to other teams, so wheeled vehicles like trucks, jeeps and armoured cars, gun teams other than man-pack guns and all cavalry can't cross barbed wire. The only exception in the rules are for trains, which quite logically are not impeded by wire. Attackers can attempt to remove barbed wire obstacles. Infantry teams in base-to-base contact with the obstacle who did not move and are not pinned down can attempt to gap a barbed wire obstacle during their shooting step instead of shooting. Teams attempting to gap an obstacle must move around, so they count as moving and are not gone to ground or concealed in the open. Each team attempting to gap the obstacle rolls a skill test. Because they lack the specialist tools and training of pioneer units, normal infantry teams must re-roll any successful skill tests. Teams within command distance of a pioneer supply vehicle get to re-roll failures. If the obstacle is successfully gapped, that section of barbed wire is removed from play. Bulldozers can also gap barbed wire. Like a pioneer team, bulldozers just need to pass a skill test to gap the wire, which removes that section from play. So barbed wire can be a good defensive tool and is easy to make and looks great on the table. If you're not using it already, maybe your games need some barbed wire.